Welcome to Pathways to Greatness, where we explore the journeys of exceptional individuals who have achieved remarkable success in their fields. Whether you're an aspiring athlete, a business leader, or simply someone striving to reach your full potential, this podcast is your guide to unlocking the greatness within you. Join us as we dive into inspiring stories, practical strategies, and the mindset shifts that can transform your path to greatness. Let's embark on this journey together. Hey, everybody, it's Jeff, your host of Pathways to Greatness, and welcome back. Today's episode is a great one, and it's with Bill Goodwin, and he is the founder of Priority Living Consulting Group and is the author of Priority Living, and he has 7 pillars of how to create a priority-focused life. I don't know if I got all of that correct, but we had a fantastic conversation, and in it, he shares really something that was important to me was a phrase that he heard long ago in his childhood and still remembered it is good, better, best, never rest. And when you hear how that fits into context and what it means for him is its constant growth. And his 7 pillars are purpose, growth, impact, rhythm, explore, connect, and give. And we talk about those, and he shares what each of those mean. And then if you want to go and pick up his book that is out in October, I believe it is, that you can find out more about what each one of those are, and then also apply them to your life. And he talks about rhythm and how rhythm impacted him. But the most powerful part of, I believe, of the episode, it's all around second chances. And when you hear what happened to him in 1999 that allowed him a second chance, it's powerful. And he talks about how you too can have a second chance to living a different life, a life that is filled with purpose and significant without having to go through what he went through. So I'll leave that as a cliffhanger. So ladies and gentlemen, Bill Goodwin. Bill, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. For the listeners, Bill is a gracious man. I've had to reschedule a couple of times on my part, not on his part. And then here we are today. And I'm sure that you would believe it's all in the Lord's timing. And he picked today for this particular one far in advance, but we had to navigate through everything to get here today.
Well, Jeff, it's an honor to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Well, Bill, I say a lot. Most of my guests I find through social media, and some like yourself, I get from emails. And I receive a lot of emails of people requesting to be on the show, which is an honor. And I'm going to be honest, I don't open all of them, but I open yours. And when I scrolled through and I looked at your credentials, I'm also a Maxwell trained coach as well. So I knew you were the salt of the earth, and we were in alignment when I saw that you went through that. And then when I went through and watched some of Bill's previous podcasts that he had been on as a guest, I was immediately hooked. And that's when I reached back out and said, we've got to do this. And I'm really excited about today.
Again, likewise, I'm so looking forward to our conversation.
Well, Bill, I don't know if you listened to any of my previous episodes, but I always like to warm everything up with a game called Would You Rather. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it. I'm ready. Let's go.
All right. I get mixed emotions. Some people are in shock and dismay, and other ones are like, okay, let's go. Okay. Would you rather go forward 100 years or back 100 years?
I would rather go forward 100 years. I'm a move forward kind of guy, looking into the future. And, I believe that the best days are always still ahead. No matter what you've been through, I believe the best days are ahead. So no shade on the past, but I'm going ahead 100 years.
Awesome. And I love that thinking about that your best days are always ahead of you, because that's something to look forward to. Have you always had that mindset of forward thinking in a positive manner?
I think I have. Going all the way back, I can think of being a young boy and young Billy back in the day, and just always looking forward to what's ahead. And I think a part of that is, then I took StrengthsFinder when I got older. I took the StrengthsFinder And what are the top 5 strengths come out as? Futuristic, strategic, maximizer, activator. I think there was one other one, maybe it was responsibility or belief. And those are all forward thinking. So I guess that's how I was wired by God to be someone who's looking ahead.
Well, it's good. And I just, the episode that released before this one, I titled it, Are You a Time Traveler? And it's about being present. And again, like you said, is that there's the past and then there's the future. And I struggle with forward thinking, but not in a positive sense. It's the what if, but it's never what if, hey, exciting thing's going to happen. It's what if all the bad things that I can imagine happen, and then it freaks me out, and it puts me in a bad state that's doesn't, I guess it keeps me from obedience and faith. And so if you were talking to me as you are right now, and you're giving someone encouragement or tactics of how to have positive forward thinking, what would you say to them / me?
Yeah. Well, Jeff, first of all, we know that both faith and fear are both forward thinking. It's just two different sides to looking at the future. One, with faith, we're looking forward, being hopeful, being optimistic, believing the best. Whereas looking forward with concern about what's unfolding in the future, that creates fear. And we know that fear, you've heard the acrostic, false evidence appearing real. So what I would say to you and to anyone listening that would be, wanting to gain that positive life stance of looking forward is, sometimes we do have to look back and say, what were some of the things in the past that I was most concerned were going to happen negatively? And if they didn't happen, think on those things, that there was some positives and some some things that were good that took place when we were thinking the worst was going to take place. And I think with that, then we can move forward with believing that with the way that I look at life is that the best days are ahead. And I've had some great days. I've had, I'm just blessed. I've had a wonderful life. Not that it's been perfect by any means, but I always look forward to what's around the corner. Maybe I'm just that curious of a person that I want to believe the best for myself and for others around me. And I guess it's the other phrase that we've all heard. God didn't bring us this far to leave us now. So I'm just like, okay, I'm grateful, and I'm looking forward with expectancy for what's around the next corner.
I love it. And for the audience, if you struggle with having the negative outlook, you can retrain your brain. Everything that Bill just shared is things that if you ruminate on those, if you write those down, if you create a mission statement for your life that reiterates what Bill just said, you can change your thought process. It's proven scientifically. If you don't believe in faith and believe in God, it's proven scientifically that you can change the way you think by what you see and how you act and the things that you say.
Absolutely. And, like I say, it doesn't matter where you've been, what you've experienced in the past. Many people have grown up, or even in adulthood, have had some very difficult times. Yet I also believe, as a person of faith myself, I also believe in the law of sowing and reaping. So when we sow good things, we're going to reap good things. When we sow positivity or encouragement or positive things, that also is a spiritual law that we're going to reap those things. And so also keep in mind that there are laws in that are taking place whether we know it or not, and one is the law of sowing and reaping. So I hope that my positivity is going to come back, and it has over and over again, with that optimism about what's ahead in the future.
I love it. You reap what you sow, so be careful what you sow. You're constantly planting seeds. And then one more thing before we move to my second question, when you were talking about is going backwards and thinking about the things that you imagined, did it happen? I've never fallen off a building. I've never gotten my arm cut off. I've never had those things happen that I've imagined going, okay, why can't I do this?
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing, like you said, is when you utilize the past to help you move forward, it's such a positive exercise. And that's where I'm not a consistent journaler, but if you journal, that's another great thing to do, is to go back and look.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some people do prayer journals to write down what they pray
Mm-hmm.
for. So then, like you said, is you
Yes.
could go back and say, God answered my prayer from 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. So
That's great.
true. How easy do we forget, right? So I love that. That's a great
too,
add-on right there.
too easy to forget. Okay. So based on that, so would you always want to know the right answer or make the right decision?
Okay, say that again. What I want to.
Would you rather know the right answer or make the right decision?
That's a tough one. We're going deeper here, Jeff. I think for me, I'll take the second. I'll take the latter. I would like to make the right decision, and sometimes that comes by making the wrong decision, which I've done way too many times, and I've learned the hard way. But then in the future, I'm able to make the right decision. So I think there's more of a process for me to make the right decision rather than just knowing the right answer. So I think over and over again, I used to separate failures and successes, making the right decision or not. But I've come to realize that it's through those difficult times that I've put myself in, most likely because I went a direction that I thought would be beneficial and it wasn't. I learned along the way. So now in the future, I'm gaining wisdom in how to make the right decision in the future.
Yeah, and I enjoy the question because you could
Mm-hmm.
literally go either direction, and you can
Right.
create enough logic to make both of them work, which is
Mm-hmm.
okay. There's no problem. The way I've always answered it is to make the right decision, because there's too many times in my life I've known what the right answer is and what the right path should be,
Mm-hmm.
and I've gone completely against it. I'd rather be naive and just say
Mm.
yes and know that that's the path I need to go
Yeah.
to, and go, and then be
Right.
able to look back and go, man, I'm glad I said yes, versus why in the world did I say yes to something that I knew
Mm-hmm.
I should have said no to?
Sure.
So that's my logic.
I like it. I like it. That's good.
now, now, Bill, this one may be the most difficult one yet.
Oh,
So,
you're throwing it at me. Okay, let's
yep.
go. I'm
If
ready.
you think the other one was heavy, this one may be even more heavy. Depending on the person I've asked, it's been difficult. Would you rather have pizza or tacos?
Oh man, that is difficult because I love both of them. Um, so Taco Tuesday tacos aren't just for Tuesdays, by the way. You got the Taco Tuesday crowd. I guess I got to go with pizza. I love pizza, so I'm gonna go there.
Do you have a particular standard order every time you go get something?
No, because there are different restaurants for pizza, so it depends. If it's a certain restaurant, I'm going with the Chicago style deep dish. If it's another, then maybe I'm going with their thin crust because I love the thin crust. So uh, I'm not that set on a certain pizza. I like to try different things too. I was actually I was up in Brainerd, Minnesota, where there's a lot of different resorts recently, and I had a type of pizza, Jeff, I've never had before. Matter of fact, they said you could do half and half because I couldn't decide on these specialty pizzas. So I did half of the pizza was a Reuben pizza. It was a thin crust. It was made like a Reuben. It was the most incredible thing. The other half, now this is going to sound strange. I don't remember what they called it, but the other half was, instead of pizza marinara sauce, it was peanut butter and then cheese and then pepperoni and jalapenos. Now I looked at peanut butter on a pizza. I'm like, I've got to try that. They said that's one of our top sellers. So I had half and half with my buddy that we were there at that resort. And so, I like to try different types of pizza. And I've never even heard of a Reuben pizza or this, whatever the name of the other one was before. So had to try it. And I'm glad I did. It was incredible.
See, it goes back to the first question of you're curious, you're always looking forward in the sense of going, hey, I have no idea what this combination is going to taste like, but we'll find out soon enough. Because I got to be honest, the peanut butter one, it started out good because I was like, okay. And then cheese, like, all right. And then
Yeah.
pepperoni, I'm like, okay. And then you throw jalapenos on there. Like that's a wild flavor profile that I would love to find out from the pizza maker. Like,
Hmm.
how did he or she put all that together? And it sounds like there was
Exactly.
nothing left in the cupboard, and they just put it on a.
Exactly. Like, how did they come up with that? Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like the Reuben, I could kind of see the stretch of like, hey, let's recreate this like they do Philly cheesesteaks and those type things.
Hmm.
But the other one, that's just an odd combination. But
Yeah, I highly recommend it. But
yep, it sounds good.
yeah.
All right. So the last question is not a would you rather, but it's if you came with a warning label, what would it say?
If I came with a warning label, it would say, beware. You're about to be encouraged and have an unforgettable experience, a positive, unforgettable experience.
That's awesome. So when
I don't
you,
know if that deserves a warning label, but that's what comes to my mind.
I think it does, because when you were saying that, when you say beware about to be encouraged and then have a positive, unforgettable experience, there's a lot of people that are put off by that approach.
Yes.
And they get really freaked out, very, very uncomfortable. Some actually get combative when you're too positive, encouraging. So what are what would be a good example of what that warning label, like somebody would anticipate once they see the warning label? What would they get from Bill?
Yeah, I think, I love people. So on the disc profile, if you're familiar, those that are listening are familiar with that, there's the I, and that's a people person. I'm a high I. So, you know, when I'm at an airport or wherever I am, I just like to engage people in conversation. The strangers are only friends I have not met yet. So I just love to engage in conversation with people, and doesn't have to be deep. It could just be something friendly. It could just be some encouraging thing that I feel to say to somebody that I just met. So I think that's where it can be off-putting, especially for people that are more introverted or want to keep to themselves more. There are times, and my wife and I are playful about it, but she'll say, do we have to talk to everybody? Can we just go out to dinner and just be us? Can we just go somewhere? And I'm like, well, probably not, because there's going to be somebody that's going to cross my path that I'm going to just naturally want to interact with and engage with. So I think that's why that warning comes, especially for those that are, hey, want to keep to themselves or keep their face down on their phone. And that doesn't deter me from wanting to engage and have some kind of conversation.
That's awesome. So I'm an SC, so I'm a high S.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm considered a peacemaker. So it's all about, like, I'm fine leading and doing all that stuff, but I'm fine also not having the limelight and being in the corner and not necessarily looking at the phone, but not having those regular conversations with strangers. But I do find myself often enough where my wife's the same way. Like, she can't go through Publix without talking to everybody on every single aisle, and my daughter's the same way, but my son's not. But they'll make fun of me because they're like, you ask the weirdest dad questions or make dad comments. Somebody will walk by. We were at a football game, and I just remember the look on my son's face, and then his statement of that was such a dad statement. Is the guy walked by with a pink lemonade. And I was like, ooh, that lemonade looks good. And he's like, Dad, seriously? But we started a conversation about the lemonade, and it was a good, fun conversation with somebody I had no idea who they were.
That's right. Yeah.
But it's good. It's way better to have that outlook, like you said before at the beginning of the show, of having a positive outlook, having, forward thinking. And Bill, I started Pathways to Greatness about 3 years ago now for the sole purpose of bringing people on like yourself to share their pathway, to share their definition of greatness, because everybody has a different definition of greatness. They are similar, but they're different. And everyone has a different pathway on their journey for greatness. And so I want to hear tactics and strategies that people can apply to their life, because ultimately I just don't want people to quit. I want them to persevere. I want them to move forward with a positive outlook on life and to change the way they're going, and or make their path easier or more enjoyable. So it's never going to be easy, but more enjoyable along the way. So with all that being said, Bill, what would you say your definition of greatness is?
Well, I love the question because if we aren't clear on definitions of different words, in this case greatness, it's hard to achieve it, or it's hard to pursue it. So for me, I know that we talk about the GOAT, the greatest of all time, in different categories at sports or different things like that. I guess I feel like it's a greatness comes with consistency. Greatness comes with perseverance and hard work. Greatness comes with being the best that you can be, and then continuing to become better. When I was maybe a teenager, a friend of mine, his grandmother taught us this little phrase. She said, "Good, better, best. Never let it rest. Make your good your better, and your better your best." So for me, I kind of tie that in with greatness. It's like we're always wanting to improve. And obviously you can look at the Michael Jordans or Wayne Gretzky's, or various people, and you can see just based on their stats that they are, uh, in a category of their own of greatness. But for me, I guess I would just say greatness is always growing to become make your good your better, and your better your best. Always growing, consistency, perseverance, and resilience, grit. All of those kind of things come into play for me when I think about greatness. And I also feel like greatness is something that others have to determine. I don't think that someone can say, I'm the greatest at fill in the blank. Their stats may show it, but I really think that others need to determine, well, that person is a person of greatness, and that label put on someone versus them putting it on themselves.
I love that, because that means even the most humble can be considered great. And so many of us are fearful of admitting our strengths and admitting what we're good at, because we feel like that's being prideful, it's being boasting. But in the same token, we have to be confident in the gifts that God has given us. And the other thing that I want the audience to really, if you need to rewind and listen to what Bill had to say, all of the things that the words that he used to describe greatness, none of them require talent. It's something that anybody can do, regardless of your size, your shape, your athletic ability, your financial status. None of that matters. It's all things that you can just do, but they are skills. All of those things also, they don't require talent, but they are skills that can be developed and strengthened along the way. Consistency is difficult. And where most people fail in their path to greatness is their consistency, because they try too much and can't continue because they're trying to do too much in a short amount of time, or they just can't be consistent. So Bill, talk a little bit about how you help someone develop their ability to be consistent, to strive for greatness.
Yeah, I think it starts with your priorities. And I love to focus personally on my priorities. What are my priorities, and to help others identify that, because that's where you're going to gain the ability for consistency, is when you understand your purpose, you understand your priorities, and then you break that down into some smaller pieces. Like you say, that, we know that New Year's resolutions typically don't work. It's the first Friday or the second Friday of January. Most people fall off the New Year's resolutions. And I think some of that is what you just said. We're trying to do too much at one time. So I think when we first understand our priorities and our purpose, and then we break that down into some daily habits. Maybe I'll get the quote off just a little bit, but I remember in Atomic Habits, James Clear says, that it's about the systems that we set up in order to become habitual in a positive way in the things that we're trying to accomplish. So he says it this way: we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our habits. And that comes into systems, the things that we put in place. So maybe I veered off of the question. I'm trying to remember the question there, Jeff, but that to me is how I would look at it myself, and how I would coach somebody is to break it down into priorities, purpose, and then systems and habits in order to have that consistency and move towards greatness.
Right. And you nailed it in the sense of you have to start small so that way you can create the consistency and create the habit of just believing in yourself and not breaking a promise. Ed Milet had a great episode one time about it's just about keeping promises that you make with yourself. And so if you start small, then you have an ability to be proud of yourself, not in a boastful, prideful way, but proud that you actually followed through with something. And I use the example of now going on probably 8 years ago is committing to flossing my teeth every day. I'd never done that before. I usually flossed it the night before I went to the dentist. And they're like, did you floss? I was like, sure, last night, but I haven't in 6 months. But it was that I've been proud of that. And I use that as an example because not everybody flosses their teeth every night. And it's super simple. But when you commit and you know that if I don't floss my teeth, it is an absolute decision on my part. And then I feel guilty and usually go back in there and then floss my teeth because I'm like, what? It takes 30 seconds to floss your teeth. Why? You have time to do it. So it's little things like that.
Sure. Yeah, it does start with the little things, and then we can grow in some of the bigger areas in our life that we want to become consistent in.
Yep. So, Bill, one of the things that drew me to wanting to talk to you and hear more about your story and allow you to share your story with the audience, it all started in 1999. And you talk about the importance of second chances. So if you could, I know you've shared it before, so I don't think that you would mind sharing again, can you share with the audience that pivotal moment in 1999 of what started your opportunity for a second chance?
Yeah, happy to share. So November 23rd, 1999, to be specific, it was 2 days before Thanksgiving. At the time, I lived in Arizona. I currently live in Minnesota, but I lived in Arizona and was a youth pastor at a large church there. I was driving to our staff meeting, and on the way there, I took our family dog to the groomers, which I didn't normally do. And I grew up with allergies and asthma kind of stuff. So typically I wouldn't go into the groomers, but that time I did. And I was in there a little bit longer than I had expected to be, which then an asthma attack came on me. And I went out to my car. I took the little inhaler, wasn't getting any relief. Actually, it was getting worse rather quickly. And I panicked. I didn't know what to do. So I drove home about a mile instead of going to the meeting that I was headed to, and got into my house. As I went through my garage into my house, I out loud prayed a desperate prayer with the little air I had left. I said, Jesus, help me, Jesus. And I grabbed my nebulizer machine, put some solution in it, and there in my family room on my knees while trying to suck some of that medication in, realized this is going from bad to worse. And my daughter at the time was on a Thanksgiving break from school watching TV that morning. And I called out to her to call 911. And my little angel saved my life that day with what she did. My wife was out running some errands. So anyway, the paramedics came and gave me a mask to put over my nose and mouth. And within just a few moments, Jeff, I completely blacked out. And I outlined the full story in my book called Priority Living, 7 Pillars to Make Your Life Count. And so I had an afterlife experience that I fully lay out in the book of what happened. But I'll say it this way, 9.5 hours after the paramedics came, I don't remember being in the ambulance. I don't remember the ER, but 9.5 hours after they came, I woke up in ICU in the hospital, intubated, and had a life altering time because I coded. I actually coded, and my spirit left my body, and I had an afterlife experience, and then I was resuscitated, of course, or we wouldn't be talking today. But I'm grateful, so grateful. What a wake up call it was at 28 years of age, that I really realized that I want to make my life count. I really want to I believe that we all want to make our life count. I don't think you have to have a near-death experience to desire that. But it became very real to me. We say things like, we're not guaranteed tomorrow, all those little sayings that we say that are cliche. I experienced it. I was so much to be grateful for 2 days later on Thanksgiving that I still had the opportunity of life. And so from there, it altered my life in a significant way.
That's a powerful story, and you hope no one ever has to go through that, because I can only imagine the fear that you had in the moment of dying and suffocating. That's terrifying in and of itself. And then your daughter observing all of this, so that probably weighed on you as well. So hearing about the second chance, and I encourage everybody to get the book, and I wanted to get into that because I love the idea of priority living, because that's intentional living. That's not just passive living and just waiting for things to happen. It's creating a structure to have priority, and I love it. So without someone having to go through what you went through, help us understand through your 7 pillars how people can start and live a second chance life without having to go through what you went through.
I love how you said that, Jeff. Yeah, so I real quickly learned, wow, I've been given a second chance. And so wanting to make my life count over the coming years, this didn't just all fall into place in a moment, but over the coming years, I began to be intentional about what are the things I need to focus on in order to make my life count. And that's when over the years, I decided to call it priority living. But I'll just give you the 7 pillars that I have been intentional for 20 plus years to be focused on. The first one is purpose. It's discovering our purpose. And in that chapter of the book, I give 10 questions to give clarity on your purpose. Plus, there's a link to an online assessment called the Purpose Factor that helps people understand their purpose and give clarity. Purpose gives direction for our lives. So that's first and foremost. I love the quote from Mark Twain, who said, the 2 greatest days of your life are the day you were born and the day you discover why you were born. And so purpose is so important. And then the second pillar is the pillar of growth, that we need to be growing ourselves. We grow older naturally. We don't grow better unless we're intentional. And so that whole focus for me even started before this encounter that I had in November of '99, is being a person of personal development and growth, spiritual growth, all of that. So that's a key pillar for me. I always want to be growing and learning. And then the third pillar is impact. Now we can make an impact in this world because we have clarity of our purpose and we're growing ourselves. And impact may sound like, well, I got to create some global movement. No, I look at impact as simply how we make a difference in the lives of others for the good. So that could be some big, opportunity, but it could be simply, changing the world, or it could be changing a diaper in the middle of the night. You're making an impact for that child when you change their diaper. So From impact, we move on to the pillar that I call rhythm. I believe that too many of us, me included, are just fifth gear, full throttle. A word we say all the time is "I'm so busy. I'm so busy." And I don't think we were meant to be human doings. I think we're meant to be human beings. And so there is a rhythm to life. And I talk all about this rhythm. Even I share very openly in that chapter some things I've never shared before about a time in my life where I went into complete burnout and was even having suicidal thoughts because of that. And I didn't live a life of rhythm. And I'm continuing to grow and living a life of rhythm. And so that's really key. I want to say it this way. Many people are going nowhere fast. So direction is more important than speed. And that's where we go back to the first pillar of purpose, growth, impact, rhythm to life. And I find that to be so valuable. So anyway, real quick, I'll just cover the other ones here. Then we get into explore. Maybe this is where my positive life stance comes in. I believe this earth is a playground, and we are to explore all of the beauty and the people and the opportunities in this place called Earth. And so I really unpack explore. And then we move into connect. It's all about relationships. Maya Angelou said the quality of your life will be determined by the quality of your relationships. And so we really dive into how to have quality relationships in that chapter on the pillar of connect. And then the seventh pillar, Jeff, is the pillar of give. It's all about generosity. It's how we give to others, how we lift others up, how we are, we get out of ourselves and we focus on making this place a better place and making people better by the way that we're generous. So those are the seven pillars, and I feel like this framework really that I give details personal stories as well as principles and practices that really help people to make their life count.
Thank you for sharing all those. And just for the audience, so I'll rattle them off. So if I get any of them wrong, please correct me, Bill. So we have purpose, growth, impact, rhythm, explore, connect, and give.
Correct.
Did I get them? All right, perfect. So those are seven. So when you look back at that time frame of your life, and that's, I mean, it's dating us, but 26 years ago when that happened, which one over that span of a couple of decades and a half did you find yourself having to work on the most?
Oh, hands down, it's rhythm. Hands down, rhythm. And I think I'm driven. We live in a fast-paced world. It's go, go, go. It's overfill my calendar, say yes to everything, and then sometimes be grateful I said yes, and sometimes feel like, oh, why did I say yes to this? This is an obligation. And so learning rhythm. And in the book, I share a quote from a guy named Mike Breen, who I heard teach once, and he shared that we are called to work from rest, not rest from work. That just tipped me on my side or my head, whatever, to say, wait a minute, whoa, what? And I was the opposite. I work until I fall over, basically, and go, I need to rest, and had to continually bring myself to a place of, I'm going to rest so that I can give my best when I'm putting myself out there in work or relationships or whatever with others. So yeah, I would say without a doubt, rhythm has been the one that has been most challenging, and yet maybe even most rewarding for me to live a life of rhythm.
And that's what's difficult is with that. One is our culture preaches the grind culture. It just, it preaches, this is what you have to do to get ahead. Keep going, keep going, keep going. And then the workplace, they reinforce that. It's, you can't take a vacation until 6 months into the job. You can't, you only earn an hour and a half for every hour, all these things that they say to earn the rest. So it's resting from work versus, and so I know plenty of people are challenged with this on a regular basis. So what were some of the things that you did to help you and can help other people create that priority living lifestyle and getting into a healthy rhythm within their own life?
Yeah. Well, the first 7 chapters of the book, each chapter I cover the 7 pillars in depth. The last 3 chapters of the book, I cover how to implement them into your life, how to integrate them into your life, and focus on priority so that you can begin to really implement them into your life. And then all the pillars must stand on a foundation. So we dive into what is your foundation. And a lot of people have different foundations, or they haven't even thought about what's their foundation. You have to put these pillars on a foundation. So we talk about that. And then the final chapter is all about legacy. Kind of start with the end in mind, and kind of look back over your life. If you were looking at the end of your life, what kind of life do you want to have, and what kind of legacy do you want to leave? So, there's real specific practices that I share in the book, but I'll just give you one. I think it's important. Like for me, like you say, like I had 4 weeks of paid vacation a year for many, many years, but I never took the vacation because I always told myself I don't have time. Like I got to work extra hard to go on vacation. I'm going to come back and I'm going to have to catch up from being on vacation. And so I believed a lie. Like I'm just going to grind it out. Well, that led me to burnout. And I mentioned that. I share that all in that chapter on rhythm. But so one of the things that's a real practical thing I'll share is that I learned to set your times of vacation or PTO, set it early, set it way in advance, so that you're planning. Maybe you do it in January for the whole upcoming year, and you say, okay, a week in June and a week in September, or 3 days in October, whatever it is. When you put it on your calendar first, you will begin to be able to look forward to it, number one, but also be able to plan ahead for it. And it doesn't sneak up on you like, yeah, I went a whole nother year without taking any of my time off. But you're being intentional about it so that it's already calendared. A leader's calendar will always be full. The question is, who's filling your calendar? So we have to fill our calendars first and put the things in there that are important to us. And then other things can come in around those things and not snuff out the opportunity to really live our priorities.
I think that's such great advice that I hope people didn't just kind of gloss over, or if you're driving, you kind of zoned out, because if you need to go back and rewind, it's just like making investments into your 401k or your IRA. They do small deposits up front because over time, you won't even realize that that's leaving. So if you do what Bill suggested and sit down with your loved ones and plan out what your year is. Jesse Itzler has, I think he calls it's this big calendar.
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
I don't know if you, yeah. And so he's like, put everything on the calendar that you want to accomplish in the year, and you're going to do it. It's setting goals. It's setting intention. It's living a life of priority. And if rest is a priority and rhythm, which it should be a priority, you have to plan it that way. Because as Bill shared, other people will fill your calendar really quick. If you're in a corporate job, I was always in sales and went in house for a year. And the best advice my boss gave me when I went into the office, the home office, he said, if there is space on your calendar, it will get filled.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, are you serious? He's like, yes. So block out an hour every day. Make it private. People don't, he's like, just leave it. Otherwise, you're never going to get to answer your emails, or you have to do everything when you get home and now your family's not a priority. And he wasn't lying. There would be days where it's like literally back to back to back to back meetings. You're walking from one cubicle to another, and life does the same thing because uncertainty pops up during the day. Even if you work from home and you're not on back to back meetings, the kids may get sick, the dog needs walking, you need to do this. And next thing you know, you're like, I didn't get anything done because I just had stuff encounter. And then you have to set healthy boundaries to say, this is what I'm doing.
Right. Absolutely. Boy, that's a game changer when we begin to fill our calendar first, even if it's blocking out those times for margin or those times where we can catch up and it's not other people filling that open space on our calendar. That's a game changer right there.
Now, how are you with morning routines? What are your thoughts about having a healthy, stable, consistent morning routine?
I love you just asked me that question because that's one of the proactive applications to 2011 when I had that burnout. And I actually was given 3 months of a time away. We call it a sabbatical for my work. And I got replenished and refilled and came out of that time of burnout. And one of the things that I implemented at that point, which has still been part of my life all these years later, is my morning routine. So I am a morning person. I wasn't before that. I used to get up and shower and head out the door. But back in 2011, I began this morning routine. So I love getting up early before anybody else, and when it's quiet, and I get my coffee and I have my time of reading and writing and praying and reflection and thinking time, and it refills me every day. So I start my day filling my cup, so then I can give out. I can give out throughout the day. Over the years, then I've also adapted or added, I should say, my morning quiet season where I'm reading, writing, thinking, to then where I then exercise. And so I try 3-4 days a week, that in a 7-day period, that I don't schedule things first thing in the morning. Now, sometimes I can't get around it because it's other people's events or networking things or whatever. And so I have to make decisions. Do I attend this or do I not, based upon what else I have going during the week, because I don't want to shortchange myself with my morning routine.
And again, just like you talked about rhythm, and again, I hope the audience really hears, is you have to set intention and don't negotiate that, because once you start, like he said with James Clear, talking about habits, is now his morning routine is a habit. It's routine, it's consistent. And then over time, as big as it can be, again, like Bill said earlier, start small, is just do something in the morning. Set an intention of, all right, I'm not going to look at my phone for the first 30 minutes after I get up. Start little. And then continue to move that line, so that way you're raising the floor. And because I heard somebody say, and I'm curious your thoughts, is that everybody has a bar. Like, we all have a bar that we can't go above. We just have natural ability. We can strive to push, but the best way to get the most out of that is to raise the floor. And that's to be consistent, build the skills necessary to do things as well as we can. Like you said, as your good, better, best, never rest, is that constantly moving, is raising the floor. And that's what consistency does, in my mind.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think once it becomes a habit or a way of life, I miss it when I have several days where it's like, okay, I got this meeting and that meeting or this opportunity that were out of my control. Sometimes I just get up a little earlier on those days, and sometimes I just spend a little shorter time, but I at least get some time in. And then there might be a day here or there traveling or whatever that I might miss it a little bit, but I get right back to it because I get so much out of it that it fuels me so that I can be a better version of myself, because I've been intentional with that for those morning times.
Yeah. And I would recommend, and I'm sure, Bill, you won't disagree with me, the morning news and emails should not be in your morning routine.
Absolutely.
It's like the last thing. Like, I have not watched the news probably close to a decade. Like there's nothing healthy about watching the news. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
weather every now and again, being in Florida, there's a hurricane coming, but I don't watch the news because it doesn't fill my cup. It just aggravates me. And then again, some people say that it's just living with your head in the sand, but I don't think so. I think it's picking what I allow into my head so that way I don't have to start the day off with negativity and ugliness.
Well, it doesn't matter what news you take in. It almost seems like it almost exists to get you worked up about something. And so taking it in limiting doses at least is really important, and especially to not start your day there, because we want to get off on the right mindset. We want to get off on with filling our tank, not having it depleted because of what news we take in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Bill, I want to be very respectful of your time. So before we leave, tell the audience a little bit more about Priority Living Consulting Group that you just started.
Yeah, so I started Priority Living Consulting Group 4.5 years ago, really with the desire to add value, to develop leaders. And so it's a combination of, I do keynote speaking for conferences, for various and trainings for various corporate and nonprofit groups. And then I do an extensive amount of coaching. So I do coaching with clients all over the country via, virtual coaching. And I also have coaching cohorts that are really beneficial for people because we learn from each other as well as the content that I bring. And it's really been a joy for me. It's really fills my cup to be able to add value to others and help others become better leaders. That's what it's all about. As you know, our mentor John Maxwell says everything rises and falls on leadership. And so I really believe that it's important that we're growing ourselves personally, and if we're in any type of a opportunity to influence or lead others, that we're also growing our leadership skill set as well. So that's what Priority Living Consulting Group is all about. And if I can serve any of the listeners in coaching, or you're looking for a keynote speaker around leadership topics, I'd love to connect and see how I can add value to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Bill. So how can people find and follow you?
Yeah, I'd love for you to, find the book. It's PriorityLivingBook.com, and it's coming out beginning of October. And I also can be found, my business website is PriorityLivingCG.com, which is for consulting group, PriorityLivingCG.com. You can find me on LinkedIn just under my name, Bill Goodwin, or Facebook, Instagram, Coach Bill Speaks. And so those are some of the ways you can find me, and I'd love to connect, hear from those listening today. And if I can serve you in some way, I'd love to have that opportunity as well.
Yeah, well, Bill, thank you. I got so much out of today's episode. So thank you for coming on, sharing with me, sending that email, blindly as a cold email. I know that it can be very, disheartening because there's not a lot of responses many times, and because everybody gets so many emails. But I'm blessed that it came through, and I'm honored that I opened it to be able to have this conversation with you today.
Oh, I am too. It's great connecting with you, and hope to grow our connection long after connecting here on the podcast for sure.
Yes, sir. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Goodwin. Thanks for joining us on the Pathways to Greatness podcast. We hope that today's conversation inspired you to take steps towards your own greatness. Remember, every journey starts with a single step. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who might benefit. Actually, share it with 3 people that you might think it might benefit. Until next time, keep pursuing your passions and carving your own path to greatness. Take care.